Okay, they kind of resetted it. Hi guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so. If you get anything from my work, connect the dot. An epiphany, a mind explosion. A new book to read, a new author to explore. Artwork. This is epoxy. This is very thick. Heavy too. Skulls. There's flowers in here too. Skulls. Pyramids. I have a lot of pyramids on the floor too. Artwork, all of that fun stuff. AllyKatzkreations211.com. That's how you could support me, keep me fed, keep me going, keep this alive, because it's crashing down like a burning building. Personal survival. We're gonna read that today. I had a really good shit start to the morning, but like the rest of the day was amazing. But we had storms come through last night. Kind of why I didn't go through a WASPy that much, and it was like just I had a lot to do. And then this morning, tree limbs and everything, but I had to go out and be doing self-care. Got the trees just cleaned up just a little while ago, and now it's in the front of the house. So I'm a little gross, but got to get this done because, spirit calls. So I have 1,000 Post-it notes everywhere. I did a book review on this book, and when I wanted to do this chapter, I don't know, I've been all over the place lately in life. So we're finally getting to it. So Ruth Montgomery does automatic typing, but there is something called automatic writing. I don't know if they're going to go into that specifically in this section, but it does say handwriting, psychographs, and signatures. So there might be some plausibility to me pointing this out during that book review. But if we think, before I read this, if we really think how a musician comes to compose something, or a lyricist, a poet, someone that is just inspired to write and use words poetically or just get a message across, it's divinely inspired. Everything you think is divinely inspired, by the way. We just have to keep the positive thinking going. That's kind of hard in human form, but sometimes we find beauty in the darkness. It is a real phenomenon. I've seen mediums draw out stuff. We get all different types of ways we can communicate to spirit, and some people choose to write. I don't know where they're gonna take this chapter, but I thought it was very interesting when I read Ruth Montgomery's work, how she's just sitting there and then she goes into trance, and then like stuff just flies off the page. It's pretty cool. So here we're gonna go. Handwriting, psychographs, and signatures. Our handwriting, although it varies from year to year, still retains and exhibits certain characteristics which make it easily recognizable as being ours. This is especially true of our signature. Even when we try to disguise our handwriting, experts can detect the attempt and recognize the writer, but those variations do not prevent bank officials from accepting the slightly varying signatures to our checks. Consequently, when our departed loved ones send us messages, either through controlled automatic writing of someone living on Earth, or by messages in their own characteristic handwriting, which are phenomenally precipitated intact from the astral, the writing is so characteristic of the departed ones as to easily recognize by any familiar with their handwriting. This is another good evidence of their presence and identity, even though it may be absolute proof to severe critics. I'm going to put a pause here because something that I had happened to me years ago when I would write a text to somebody and I thought it was being played with, but it was really spirit, like, no, you're going to delete this whole thing because nope, you're wasting energy. Nope. Like I would have seriously things that I was going to type to somebody, like erased, and then it's just weird. A lot of people have that, and sometimes it's like not. Sometimes there are things text that is not from some NSA bot or some hack, that it's really spirit typing to you through your phone. So I think if we could modernize a lot of this, I think it could happen. Possibly. I know it's happened to me. Let me know in the comments if it has happened to you. Psychograph. We have spoken about above of messages precipitated direct and intact from the astral by disincarnate spirits. These messages are called psychographs, and the method of receiving them is called psychography. Graphy? This is how much I care today. Psychographs are obtained without human contact and are shown by rigid tests to be the work of disincarnate entities. Precipitated writing. This writing was originally called slate writing, as it was usually precipitated on the dark space between two slates or on cards placed there. The way this is accomplished is as follows. The inquiring sitter writes out the desired question addressed to his departed loved ones. These are then laced in a sealed envelope so that the medium can have no knowledge of either the questions or the names of the person addressed. The sealed envelope is then placed outside on top of the slates. The spirit guide transmits the messages telepathically to the loved ones, so addressed, and collects their replies. The departed ones addressed write out their answers to the questions asked by the sitter. And then the guide, again, using the psychic forces of the medium, precipitates the writing either on the slates or on the cards placed between the slates. In some instances, the materialized hand of the spirit visitor is able to do the writing on paper with a real pencil. While trying to solve an old mystery of her brother's recorded death in the First World War, Sylvia Barnell, yeah, something like that, a noted author and investigator of psychic phenomenon, proved beyond a doubt that she received a direct message from her brother who had gone over. At a seance, asked for a pencil and paper, and with his materialized hand, he wrote her a letter, clearing up the mystery of his death. On comparing this letter with the others he had written, the writing was found to be identical, and even the manner of finishing his letters and signing his name was beyond doubt. The medium who was conducting the seance at the time had never seen the boy's handwriting, and Miss Barnell had none of his letters with her at the time. The method of spirit writing on slates seems not to be as yet fully comprehended, probably because Earth people are not sufficiently advanced in scientific knowledge. As known, okay, there's like a bunch of pictures and stuff. Okay, we're gonna pause because I don't know where this page picks up, but we're gonna share screen because we got some cool pictures. got some cool pictures. Okay, Lincoln. That's creepy. That's cool though. Nice. That's a hand. There's some crazy stuff here. And like, this is not the age of Photoshop, folks. So, I mean, there are, I mean, I never took photography in college. I should have. I went to art school. Why, Allison? Because that wasn't my major. Um, but it's that process alone to actually developing film is ridiculously not the easiest thing, and you need the right conditions to do it in, especially back then. Nowadays it's just like, hi, it's digital and we can mess it up on Photoshop. It was very difficult to like do anything to the plates or tamper with them because of the fragility of them. And that's just a creepy head of Lincoln. Sorry, Lincoln. Okay, see, for me, this is more of a drawing, a press print, like silk screen kind of, because this looks like pencil or ink. And Yeshua is like, yeah, that's not. No. Okay, I can't get this to enlarge so you guys can see it. Okay, there's a lot of pictures here. I mean, also like the lot, if we think about handwriting today, children, and this is the scary aspect, like children are not being taught proper like penmanship. Like they know how to like formulate letters, but to the extent where it's not perfected. But now like cursive is like out of schools unless the teacher is really awesome at showing the children. Cursive is not easy to do with if you don't have your penmanship proper. I know a lot of, from my generation and down, we all learned cursive in school. Kids today don't know how to read any of that. And I mean, I can barely read it. It looks like it's like a doctor's chicken scratch. This is a bit better. And it's sideways. Okay. We're back to the book, folks. Sorry about that. I didn't know that there was so many pictures in between. I just want to minimize this a little bit and we'll get back in business. Because I'm going blind myself. I need a bigger print. By the spirits to understand the process, usually a small bit of pencil is placed between the slates. But it would seem that the spirits do not always have to use this. A group of mediums sitting without any outsiders in the meeting once requested the spirit to write on slates with a bright orange color. taken from a ribbon worn by one of the mediums. The color of the writing on the slate, when compared with the ribbon, matched exactly. It has been the author's privilege to have received a number of messages from his father, mother, brothers, and sister, also the former professors of the University of Pennsylvania, former Presidents Lincoln, Benjamin Harrison, and other distinguished personages have also written us messages. In case the writing was characteristic of the communicator, as the signatures were verified by comparisons with those left behind at their passing. On one occasion, President Lincoln precipitated a picture of himself with a message as Benjamin Harrison. The following are some of the psychographs we have mentioned above. The messages definitely refute the claim of some skeptics that spirit messages are of a trivial nature, give little information, or of low intellectual content. These psychographs were materialized by Pierre L.O.A. Keller at Cascadaga, Florida, Easter morning, March 27th, and Easter Monday, March 28th, 1932, for F. Homer Curtis. The author did not recognize the signature of Annie, but when this message was thrown on the screen at a meeting, a lady in the audience recognized the writing and signature as belonging to a friend who had passed over to the spirit world some time before. Professor Hare was formerly professor of chemistry at the University of Pennsylvania and had been interested in the facts of spiritualism for some time before his passing. Dr. Agnew was formerly professor of surgery at the University of Pennsylvania, where Dr. Curtis took his medical degree many years later. Dr. Curtis was attending a dinner in Florida when one of the guests swallowed a bone, which lodged so far down in the trachea that all ordinary efforts to remove it failed, and he was in grave danger of choking to death. During the interim, while a surgeon was being sought, Dr. Curtis received a message from Dr. Agnew from the other side to administer a tremendous blow to a certain spot in the man's back. He jumped from his chair and followed the instructions with resounding whack. The bone flew out on the floor. The above psychograph message was received psychographically from Dr. Agnew in reply to Dr. Curtis's sincere thanks. I guess all the letters that were above were about that. So I don't know who put the book together or the placing of things, which is cool. Next, we're going to read Materialization. Materialization. Materialization of form to such an extent as to be seen and felt by human beings is another contributing evidence of personal survival after so-called death. This is accomplished by the departed one's drawing from the body of the materializing medium and from that of the audience enough of the etheric material ectoplasm to clothe himself and make his astral body dense enough to be seen in the dark, faintly glowing with an inner radiant light. Pause. Hi. Hi, guys. So, offshoot, different direction I'm going to take you in. So, yeah, your thoughts create things. And this ectoplasm is absolutely real. I've had things materialize in front of me. I've seen things materialize in front of me. Okay. But as a collective, where do you think loosh and what is loosh? You know, all those nasty negative thoughts you see, like what I didn't want to like feed today, because nope, not today, Satan. I had to clear my head, and because I did not like the thoughts running through it. And usually that's not me, that's me being under attack. And I've been under attack a lot because people are horrible and like to project horrible things to me. Hi. But I fixed that. I went to go play with kittens and kitties today. But in realistic terms, like Ghostbusters was not off with the ectoplasmic analogy. Dan Aykroyd is super huge in the parapsychological and parapsychology phenomena, paranormal, and it is such a thing. But if we take to the people that watch me, for those of you in a specific movement that know a little bit on Loosh, then this is real. And people can draw that in, like they draw the negative energy from us to feed its battery to continue to be able to manifest and cause havoc. So let's be positive, guys. Let's stop aggressively wanting to kill everybody and just cause havoc because we want justice. Let God take care of that, please. And it can happen through a lot of us, you know, defending our homes and property, but like, let upstairs deal with that and let us create the better world for all of us, because it's a habit I see continuing, and I can't feed into that circus anymore. As much as I love people, you're feeding them to continue on. I just hope some of you know that. And I love you no matter what. Ectoplasm. This ectoplasm is the substance of the etheric body of the medium or others in the seance room, which is the duplicate of the physical body, and into the meshes of which the substance of dense body is materialized. Just as certain persons are born with special talents for music, art, song, mathematics, or other abilities, so certain persons are born with the ability to exude some of their etheric substance or ectoplasm through their orifices, usually the mouth or nose. Sometimes this emerges only as a thin vapor, but may be condensed into a liquid or even a solid on sufficient contact with the air. Since the substance is semi-physical in its vaporous condition, it is used by the disincarnate spirits and incorporated into their astral bodies to make them sufficiently dense to be seen or photographed, or to produce the higher light types of physical phenomena. From its liquid state, it can be condensed into rigid rods, or it can be molded into other forms which are capable of lifting or sustaining considerable weight, or producing other phenomena which require the application of great force. We have personally felt the condensed ectoplasm, and its touch resembles that of jelly, which tends to dissolve under the living hand and usually smells away rapidly in the presence of light as it is drawn into the body of the medium. So I'm going to put another pause there because this is very, how do you picture this? Slimer. Go watch Ghostbusters. 1 and 2, because the goopy gloppy stuff under the museum is also very much, it's not like that, but it's representation of that. You're electric, you conduct electric, and when you talk or you sneeze or you have particles that go into the air, and for some of us, we have higher charged frequency in electric current that runs through our body, that these things are able to whip. Hi. But to a larger extent, the paranormal stuff where you see things flying across the room, hang on, the name just like it's on the tip of my tongue and I gotta look up the word. Poltergeists. we create them ourselves. Like I say, our thoughts become things, and a lot of our thoughts are unconscious and subconscious. And if you ever watch Amy Allen from the Dead Files, she'll talk about PK manifestations. And that is from a living hosted being who is creating these things that you can't see with your physical eyes until it actually becomes dense, with somebody who has abilities that could give that Tesla fun out into the air, and they now can manifest. You got to be very guarded and very careful on your thoughts. And yes, we are human. We have negative thoughts sometimes, and that's fine. It's just learning how to release in a productive, healthy way, and purifying your space on a daily. Not, you don't need to do it on a daily basis unless you necessarily think so, but I kind of do space clearings about once a week. And I light sage quite often. I have a lot of incense. I like to burn candles and stuff. You don't have to be that excessive. But for someone like me that draws a lot of this energy to me, because a lot of them want to either be moved on, or they want attention, or they want to do me harm. Got bruises to prove it. It's just something to really keep in mind as I'm reading this book. And this is now like during the spiritual era in America, where people were doing a lot of this stuff. It was socially acceptable by the mass public, and people did really get the real deal shit. But just in the modern times, you got to be careful if you are into ghost investigating. I love that stuff. I have like EMF detectors, and I have spirit box, a REM pod. I got a couple of things, because I know what I've drawn, what I've seen my whole life, and they didn't have those devices back then. I'm still looking for my dowsing rods. I have the dowsing rods that I have that are like copper all the way around and not wood. I have another pair that's kind of shitty. Those divining tools were really the only, and like tarot cards were around at that time, crystal balls, scrying mirrors, and stuff like that. But if you're a skeptic, you can always find something that will debunk, or you can just say in your mind, well, I don't believe in that, and that's just my thing. Nowadays, it's a lot easier to prove life after death, that the soul transforms, it transmutes, and it's up to you what you feed and what your thoughts are. This is why I do what I do, to make each person aware of, yeah, your thoughts. When I was in the abyss, the void of space, when I was in my teens, that was when I experienced the most activity in the negative form, because I didn't realize I was creating it for myself. I created it, not God. I mean, yeah, I'm a part of God, and but it's an experience I needed to learn from. Not in the moment, but years later. Hi, oh, you created that for yourself. You needed to learn a lesson. You needed to think more positively and stop putting negative crap out into the ether so it can manifest. What a concept, but it's the truth. So, not everything in life is going to be rosy and peaches and sparkle farts and unicorns. It isn't going to be that every day of your life. But it's being in the moment when you feel that way, you transmute it so that you're not feeding negative energy and you're not bringing it towards you. You're kind of like repelling it. It happens, there's a moment. Okay, not going to do, you do your mental gymnastics and you take self-care and you shift your thinking. And sometimes like it gets really, really fucked up in life. Just don't feed it. Distract yourself with something that's going to make you happy in the moment if you can't handle it to transmute it in the moment. But always try to find a source of ground. Always, you're going to have to confront problems. You interact in this world with other people. And if you don't heal, and sometimes you'll never be able to, but you release the energy, the entanglement that you have to other people that created a moment in time that created such an energy charge that now it's going to be looped there forever. This is when you walk into an old house and you can, if you're a medium, you can see things reoccurring time and time again. Some spirit is reliving their death a million times. It's because it's a captured time and moment of that time space that got captured into the material there. That's why when you buy a house, you should clear it. Doesn't matter if someone passed away. In my opinion, just about all of America, I'm just talking about America, and most likely Europe as well, there is not one piece of land that doesn't have a dead body laying under it. I'm just saying, it's like the world is a graveyard. Honor the land, treat it with respect, and that's what you're going to get back. For the most part, depends where you are. But we're going to talk about repercussions now because this is going to be great. Repercussion. Since the ectoplasm of the etheric body is the substance of the model on which the physical body is built, if it is injured in any way while it is exuded from the medium's body, such as by bruising, scratching, or cutting, when it is withdrawn again into the body of the medium, the damage will be reproduced in the flesh, manifesting as bruise, scratch, or even bleeding cut. This phenomenon is called repercussion. Therefore, it is very dangerous to the welfare of the medium for anyone to touch the ectoplasm or materialized form without the permission of the controlling guide. If the astral cord connecting the medium with the materialized form is severed and the ectoplasm is thus prevented from returning into the physical body, it may result in the death of that body. Those who attend materializing seances should understand this and rigidly adhere to the rules laid down as to the touching of any materialized forms or articles, or they will be responsible for any unhappy results. I don't know how extreme that is, to be honest. I don't agree. I mean, yeah, there are repercussions, but yeah, no. Anywho, moving on. There's so much I can say, but I won't. Even the sudden unauthorized turning on of the light may dissolve the ectoplasm so quickly that it will produce a great shock to the medium, from which it will require weeks to recover. Since ectoplasm is usually soluble in light, such materializations have to be produced in the dark or under a faint ruby light. Remember the time that they're writing this in, by the way. Because they are more often produced in the dark, these phenomena are most often imitated or faked, but this can be detected by photographing materialized figures with okay, we're going to go back to pictures because once again, this book, whoever put it, this is creepy. Creepsville. Ectoplasm. Hang on. I want to just get this a little larger so you guys can see a bigger picture, because yikerama. Okay, here we are. Look at his mouth and look at that. Okay, that's I think no. And he looks like he's like tethered to and tied down to a chair. Like, are we doing possessions here? Weird. Just weird. I don't know what else to say about it, but weird. I mean, I've read a lot of books on the topic, but never really seen pictures from that era doing that. So let's get back to red rays, which are, as we explained above, can take pictures in the dark. So like thermal. Materialization in the light. There are certain exceptions to this general law of materializing in the dark. However, for some mediums have the extraordinary ability to produce materialization in the daylight. The most astonishing exception we have found recorded is that of the noted English medium William Ingleton. On one occasion, while he lay in a trance on a bench out of doors in the garden, he materialized several human forms taller than himself. One of them was so powerful that it lifted the hat off the head of the specter, but it put it on its own head, walked a distance of more than 60 feet from the entranced medium, returned, gave the hat back to its owner, shook hands with him, and then melted back into the body of the medium. This was aptly testified to and varied by those present. During our years of personal investigation, among the hundreds of materialized figures we have seen, all of which were recognized by relatives or friends, our mother once fully materialized and walked the entire length of a large, faintly lighted living room in full view of some 20 persons. She came up to us, patted us on the cheek, and said in a loud whisper, "Bless you, my son." Other members of our family were materialized since in the same way. On one of our author's visits to Marjorie, he was shown 3 large rings, each of a different kind of wood, but each interlaced with the other 2. At the same time they were shown to him, they had to be shown under a ruby light, as they were still considered to be green. That is, they had not been materialized long enough to be sufficiently solid to withstand daylight without dissolving. Later, these rings were submitted to micrographic and other laboratory tests to discover if they had been cut in two in any way to interlace them and then cemented together again. No such transverse joint could be found. This again proves that supernormally, one form of matter can interpenetrate and pass through another. During a period of 3 years, Sir William Crookes, in experiments with the medium Florence Cook, frequently witnessed the full-size figure of Kate King, who was 6 inches taller than the medium. In a somewhat dim light, Kate at times walked about the room for 2 hours, conversing in a distinctly audible voice. The medium habitually wore earrings, while the materialized figure did not. Her form was so solid that she was able to grant the request of Sir William that he might hold her in his arms, where he felt her living body. She was frequently photographed at one time with 5 cameras, including a stereoscope camera focused on her figure at all times. At each seance, at least 3 exposures of each camera were given. It was a common thing for the spectators to see both Kate King and the medium together in the full glare of the electric light. The pulse of Kate beat steadily at 75, while that of Miss Crookes was uh going at the rate of 90. This shows that Kate's astral heart was beating as regularly as it did in physical life. Materialized forms have been heard to breathe heavily, and on occasions the breath was breathed through a tube into a barta water to detect the presence of carbon dioxide. A bubbling was heard and the dioxide was proved to be present, showing that physiological metabolic changes were taking place in the body of the spirit visitor. This is positive proof that the form was densely materialized, that it was performing all the physiological functions of normal respiration, namely breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon acid gas, as any other living human being must necessarily do. Mediums have known to lose as much as 60 pounds while the figures are materialized. In Colonel Alcott's experiments at Eddy's at Shinton, he had variously materialized forms step on a platform scales on which the weights were recorded or measured, and they were found to vary from 132 to 160 pounds. On one occasion, materialized hands pulled a spring scale out to the limit of measurement with 50 pounds. And as we have said before, materialized figures have extraordinary strength. In a number of instances, the materialized figure was able to pick up the entranced medium in his arms and carry her around the room for the sitters to see. I know my camera's going bonkers. In another instance, the materialized form was able to answer the phone and have her voice recognized by the caller. As the materialized figures moved around the room, everyone is able to see it since it illumined by its own inner radiance. Let me fix this camera. Hang on, guys. In her book Ghosts, I have seen Violet Tweedle, a writer of note and a person of integrity, an impeccable character, tells of a remarkable demonstration of materialization on one of her visits to Madame Blavatsky in London. She says, on another occasion when I was alone with Madame Blavatsky, she suddenly broke off our conversation by lapsing into another language, which I supposed to be Hindustani. She appeared to be addressing someone else, and on looking over my shoulder, I saw that we were no longer alone. A man stood in the middle of a room. I was sure he had not entered by the door, window, or chimney, and as I looked at him in astonishment, he salaamed to Madame Blavatsky and replied to her in the same language in which she had addressed him. The picture below is one of the materialized form, and particularly the hands of Archbishop Nathan Soderblom of Sweden, given to his medium, the Swedish pastor Martin. I am not pronouncing that last name with the 10-foot pole. Let's just say probably Swedish. The Archbishop had previously written a theological treatise through the automatic writing of that said person. The photograph was recognized by many persons who knew him well as authentic one of the dead archbishops. That name also published a book of hymns given to him through automatic writing from the Danish hymn writer Bishop Kingo, who had passed on many years ago. Because he could not find any suitable tunes for his hymns, he was helped by other spirits to compose the music for some of the hymns which he had received through mediumship. I'm going to share screen again, but give me a second. Enlarge this doodles. Okay, hang on, guys. We have that. And that's creepy. Creepy. Oh, so you see that, and then people can hear. Still creepy. All right. So I'm going to end it there. Next time we will go into direct voice. It shall be interesting. I didn't think this book was going to take a turn like this, but I'm glad it did because it has pictures. Unlike the Realms of the Living Dead, I love that book too, very much so. That doesn't really have any pictures to show for evidence and proof, and especially back in their time, when all of this stuff was like a thing. It was a trend like it is today, but back then it was a lot harder to doctor fakes. And not to say they didn't exist, I'm sure it did, but a lot of this stuff you don't ever see now reproduced. You could put your phone an app on a phone and you could talk to the dead. Is it real? You don't know. um the millimeter, the spirit box, that does sometimes work. When you talk into a recorder and you hear that, yeah, maybe. But for those who are interested in this stuff, the paranormal stuff, you got to be very, very, very careful. Like I said, thoughts create things, and people's thoughts are all over everywhere, and you don't know what you're going to be picking up when you are trying to communicate, and you don't know if they're vicious and violent, and they can manifest and they can harm you physically. um I've been physically harmed a million times by these things. I put the armor of God on. I do my light in my bubble and do as much shielding as possible. That's why I'm always asking people to shield. Yeah, certain channels like Bashar will tell you, like, no, if like, stop thinking about that. But I have other experiences that say me otherwise. Um, that this stuff is scientifically proven, and I've had bruises that are not explained, scratch marks, bleeding. And I know that I go in my astral body and my light body, and I do fight. I'm an archangel. I fight. It's just what I do. Um, but if you're going to tamper with this stuff and call upon spirits, and you got to know what you're doing, number one. And you got to put enough protection around you so you're not possessed, or that you have something stuck to you, because a lot of people have stuck energy to them and they walk around with it, and they don't know why they're obsessed or why they're drunk, or alcohol. Or when you get into those low vibratory states, that's when they can latch onto you the most. And I agree with that. um that's why when you're not in the best state of mind, we all get depressed once in a while. Things do hit us hard in the material world where there's no escape. People escape with drugs and other things, and I just don't do it, because it's okay to have one or two drinks just to have a drink. But when you're there, the intent to get, like, can't get up yoga drunk, where you're in different body positions that aren't normal, there's a problem there, and it's something that I recommend you stop doing. If you can control yourself like I can. I used to be an alcoholic. I used to try to drown myself in a lot of things that I'm not proud of, because I didn't want to deal with my reality. My reality was very dark, very, very bleak in many instances in my life. And I know what it is to feel that way. I know what it is to want to drown yourself out. I get it. The problems aren't going to go away. You just got to change your perspective and your viewpoint on them. I can control having a drink. I can control if I'm gonna feel like I'm getting drunk, I stop and I have water. I really don't drink. I stopped doing just about everything because I don't need to escape anymore. I know how to solve my problems. And even if I don't know how to solve my problems, I look at my problems in a different perspective. And I keep faith and I keep optimistic that things will turn around eventually. Divine timing. You have to be patient. Things stink sometimes, but eventually things do get better. Um, you just have to keep the positive mindset so you attract better things to you. But if you keep the negative path and you keep wanting to everybody die who was another aspect of God that's bad, you're just putting that into the ether where you saw the guy had stuff, whether that's real or fake, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But if you watch Ghostbusters a lot, Slimer. And if that's real, if what that dude was coming out of his mouth was real, then I would want to hope that it's good vibes and happy things coming out of somebody, because I wouldn't want that specter to get stabby or do something dangerous. So please be careful what you're playing with. And it's the biggest thing. I know this is not Halloween by any stretch of the imagination, but do not dive into the Ouija board. I am very against people who do that. If they know what they're doing and they are like myself, that's a different story. But most people, and I'm not putting myself on a podium. I don't want to do that. But there are people with higher frequency that have big protection and big guns upstairs protecting them, that once they do that, you can open portals. You can open gateways that you don't know what you're opening because you're not aware. You want to have fun, kids especially. I don't recommend kids divining until like mid-20s, early 30s. Using tarot cards, oracle card. I mean, yeah, affirmation cards are different. Some decks are fine, but you're channeling energy. And if you don't know what you're channeling from, false light is a real thing. There are many times, I'm going to give a good example. I might have been 13, 14 years old, and I got a starter tarot card deck. I went to the mall with my friends. My mom dropped me off. That's the thing that we used to do, is go to the mall, and my mom gave me like, here's $30, go get yourself, lunch and whatever you want. And I bought tarot cards. And at that time, it wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a popular thing. It wasn't, the craft wasn't out yet, like it wasn't like one of those like trendy things. Like now everybody has tarot cards and everybody wants to learn. But I had them, and later on, I was told like it was a good thing that you stopped using them, because what was trying to come out and through the messaging wasn't my higher self or my higher other selves and essences. It was something dark. And at the time, I didn't know I had a Stargate in my damn house. So these are the things that, I tried pendulum work and I tried a lot of things. When I'm here in this house, everything is of like amazing. I don't feel like I'm being attacked. And I know there are things here. I know people tell me all the time what they're seeing behind them. I'm aware of a lot. I feel more now that now in my 40s, I can feel more than I can see. My abilities shift all the time. But if I need to, I can see what's going on. But I feel more grounded here. I feel my messages are more clear here than they were in New York because I was in a portal. I lived on a Stargate. The energy was bonkers. Bonkers. And I know that I've been saying a lot of stuff, but I'm more clear now as a channel, as someone that just knows the difference between me and what's coming through me. I know here. But when you're first starting out, when you're first discovering what's coming through you, why did you get that thought? Why did you get that inspiration? Why? Don't question it in a bad way, but question, like, where did it come from? And then ask, feel for the highest vibratory state. Because there's a lot of people who channel who claim that they're channeling good things, and most of them are not. And not all the person that, let's just say the person is dealing with different types of like alien societies or different parallel realities, multiverses. They're picking up again, once again, potentialities, and you don't know if that potentiality is of the light or the dark. You don't know the intention because A, it's higher and it can disguise itself. I mean, we have cloaked ships above us all the time. Raise your frequency and you can see them. These are just the little nuances that us humans don't really tap into. We think it's cool. We can pull the tarot cards out. I don't pull mine out. I don't read tarot that often because I channel when I read my cards. I'm getting spirit through me. And for some reason the tarot cards are not my thing. I have a bunch of really nice decks. I clean and cleanse them like I do my oracle cards, but I speak better through my oracle cards. I used to use a pendulum. Do I believe everything the pendulum, what I get? Sometimes it depends. But again, I go in and heart align with myself, my body, myself. I align everything. So just be careful. I'm not here to degrade anybody or to disrespect anybody that does this work. I'm no different from them, but just make sure that when you're hearing people talk or they're channeling or they're doing whatever they're doing, that you're going in within your own self to know if it's true for you. Just like this book. She typed, her guides spoke, and her guides were not right. Her guides picked up on a potentiality that never happened. That doesn't make her wrong. And her guides are just picking up on a potentiality. But when you write that there's going to be tsunamis and earthquakes and like the whole earth is going to collapse, yeah, in certain aspects, it might have an appearance of that, but her guides even said you guys shifted and you changed your frequency and that potentiality never took place. So we dictate what is to come. In order to get all this negative BS out of the field and let it just go to ashes, dust to dust, where is your mind and your energy being focused? I'm going to take the wood chippers to a certain group because we hate them and they're eating kids and they're doing all horrible kind of things. Yeah, so is everybody else. Stop feeding them so they can stop doing it. Yeah, we want awareness that this stuff continuously happens. I hate to sound like a cold bitch, but people signed up for those experiences like we signed up for ours. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, and we do need to put a stop to it. But when you perpetually, continuously want to hate and want people dead, that is contributing to their ongoing festive shit. Just putting that plainly out there for you. And if you want to go read, well, what do you mean by that? Go read the Kabbalion, read the natural laws of correspondence and attraction, and actually understand energy and frequency, that what you put out, you're giving into the ether. So if you're only speaking shit and negative nonsense, what are you feeding the loosh? What was coming out of that guy's mouth? So you're feeding them, and you're going to perpetually continue the cycle until who puts an end to it? You, me, everybody. God, source, the all, the higher densities will take care of these people. When you starve them of their energy is when things will come to the light. And we're going to see a lot of this continuously play out because people are not willing to get off the bandwagon and stop feeding the energy. And I'm just being honest, and I love people regardless. I really do. And I just needed to come out. But sending each and every one of you love, light, protection, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within. Be the shoulder physically for somebody if they need it. Be the lighthouse, because you never know who is going to be attracted to your light and that you're going to help. Seed your truths, because when you seed something into somebody's subconscious, something triggers it to start pooping out, and then the flower unfolds, and it takes time. It takes time. But personal survival. I didn't think this was going to go in a paranormal direction, but it did. And it's brilliant because your personal survival is all about your mindset and how you frequent your energy. So master that. We're all in mastery school right now. We're all learning how to dispel and transmute our energy and be the alchemists that we were meant to be. So keep up the good work for those of you who are doing it. Sorry for the late video. I did a TikTok about how I feel unappreciated and I feel very invisible right now in the world. There's reasons for that. And I'm not here to run on anybody's coattails or beg somebody for help. But when you put out and do a lot for others and you don't get anything in return, I start checking out. And that's nothing I want to do because I still have a mission with what I do. But it's getting to that time where I have to put my foot down soon because I don't feel appreciated. And someone can tell me that, but you could see it in other people's voices. Just deep breath. So hopefully I get recognized in a way that will help. And if not, I got to do what spirit tells me to do in my higher self, because I'm going on a higher timeline and a lot of things are going to fade out of my life. Hopefully this isn't, but things are really difficult for me, and I'm trying to keep my vibes high because I hope I get my little kitty. So sorry for the long ass rant at the end, but necessary. I'm going to try to get some sleep now because that storm kept me up all night, that derecho. And someone did pass away down in the next town from me from the storm. So my heart and my prayers go out to those people that lives got altered. And I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye for now.